Welcome back, everybody. Once again, I realized I never actually say my name at the beginning of this. At the beginning of these things. I'm Chris, of course, and as always, I've got Nabil and James with me. How are y'all doing?
What up?
Doing good. Doing all right. Looking forward to next year.
No, already thrown in the towel, James. Even though you are not mathematically eliminated, huh?
I just figured even if I get one win, if that happens, 8 of my players would break their legs before the following week. That's my injury luck.
I think all you got to do is trade with Nabil. Just grab one of his running backs, and then they'll go down, right? Like it's only when
we're not bringing up the word trade between me and James right now.
Oh yeah, trade about that. That was totally an accident. Interesting couple of trades that have happened, James, in the last couple of days. We are recording this on Thursday. The Thursday night game is about to kick off in the next 25 minutes or so. And trade deadline is Saturday. So trades do have, if you're listening to this and it is before midnight West Coast time on Saturday, get your trades in. Sunday morning, you will not be able to make any transactions other than with free agency and the waiver wire. Have I let it sink in enough, Nabil, that you did not get to make the trade that you wanted to make? Is that what?
Okay, look, I'll take some responsibility. Look, I just figured I granted James a full day of thinking about it. Yes, it was good. It was open communication, checking in, making sure he was okay. Then the second, part of the trade wasn't going that great, right? So I'm like, I don't know. And then within 10 minutes makes a trade to the guy that I'm playing this week. And look, I get it. It's cool. That's just part of the business. So I'm not that mad. It just, out of anyone, you could have traded anyone else. It's okay. It's fine. I'll move on. It's not that bad, except I've also had some other problems with other people. So it's all good.
Are you accusing James of trade cheating on you?
I thought we were in this together, and I thought we could have found something, but it's okay. I had more feelings. He broke my heart, and that's just how it is.
I've got receipts.
James,
let me quote.
I'm not gonna
Nabil began the trade negotiations.
Go ahead.
The opening line is all right.
Nabil, don't make me mute you.
God,
silence is really good for us, partner.
All right. How much is Kelsey and Hopkins? Hopkins injured, so you've got to give me a discount.
You have to. Okay. All right.
Opening line.
Hold on. But look, I was straightforward with how I valued they're not equal in my mind, so I established that. That's all. I mean, honestly, the funnier part is how I blew up once I finally saw that he traded Hoyt. Because that was like a breakup. I was just
that's what I mean.
5 seconds with at least like 4 F words.
It definitely if I can play therapist here for a second, what it sounds to me like you're saying, Nabil, is that James's actions upset you because that was not what you expected of him to do. Is that are we?
It's pretty accurate, but if you want the truth, I realized, honestly, for the fun of the league, I kind of blew up. It was getting angry. I actually had to send an apology because I felt I was way too harsh in how mad I was, because I was like, well, actually, I realized it's probably there's no processing if I'm being over the top. For all he knows, I'm actually mad because, he's such a softie. And so that was just a low blow. You didn't need that either. I'm sorry, James. Whatever. It's fine. I think it makes the matchup interesting. I'm sure we'll get to talking about it, but I think I think James is in a situation where there's still several of us who need to win this week. And so it makes sense why, if you don't know if you have a shot for the title, to capitalize on the last week of trades, because after Saturday, like you said, Chris, we're done. No more transactions. So, and trust me, I feel that I'm trying to see if there's some moves I can make that don't blow up my chances, but it's definitely hard.
Yeah, no, I mean, as much as I'm going to tease James for giving up before he's mathematically out of it, it's time though. You need so many things to break your way just to get into The playoffs where there are now more teams that are stacked and loading up. You've had some injury issues to deal with, like I don't know that you had the roster to make that run anyway. Like it's the right call, and it's a bummer when anyone's season is figuratively over. But you still have a chance to play spoiler a little bit, James. And yeah, I think really the only thing to do at this point is to kind of combine like the look back, look forward. No one technically has a playoff spot clinched yet, which seems crazy. But we are sitting at a spot where there are 4 of us is at 8-4. 9 out of 12 of us are at least 500 and still playing for those wild card spots, more division titles. To take a look, I know I'm sorry to keep it on you, James. I do want to look at one of the closer matchups, which was your loss to Hunter, which let me go this way to you, Nabil. What's the bigger impact here, that James lost or that Hunter squeaked out a win? Like, is it James being removed is that the bigger story here? Or is it that like Hunter barely got finally got back on the winning side? Like, but which end of this win loss do you think is more important for the league?
Well, I think like going into any of this is interesting. So going into the last couple of weeks here in the division, I think what's more telling is that Hunter has actually been on a pretty big slump for the last 3 weeks. He's been putting up in the 90s, right? So as we always say, and we need to adjust, you need at least 130 to feel confident in winning in this league. And if you're putting up 90s 3 weeks in a row, something is wrong. Now, every team has been plagued with injury, right? We just know that now, because if it's not an out or an IR, it's a Q, and you don't know if they're going to play or they're limited snaps. Like, the entire league is dealing with injuries. And so while it is a bummer, it would have been nice had James got the dub and kind of kept this playoff hunt even more exciting, as we would probably have continued to kind of push or kick the can down the road as far as, this is the most crucial week in the league. And it still kind of is, but Hunter should probably not feel confident getting the W with 90 points at the end with some of the trades that he's made, hopefully for his playoff push. That's my big takeaway.
Yeah, James, looking at the matchup obviously there's a few different options for you here, but is there any one in particular, like you're so close, right? You're so close as far as like one more guy popping off for one more touchdown and you get it. Looking at the lineup you picked, there really aren't any mistakes. Westbrook I'm sorry, I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name.
I don't even know who
I don't think
is.
I think if you had put him in over I think there's a way that you could have finagled the lineup to have a win. But you can't be worried about that as far as your lineup goes. But this is the last negative question I'll ever ask you this season about your team. Like, who let you down the most here in the end, as far as like who would you have expected to be of a little bit more of an effort and keeping you in that playoff hunt?
Well, I respect Calvin Ridley's decisions. Mental health comes first and foremost.
Yep.
I forget, like, he was a 6th-round keeper and he was supposed to be like top 5 receiver on the year going into the season. And it happened so long ago. I forget how much of a blow that was to my roster. But I think it's got to go to Tannehill. He's been garbage all year. And he's been consistent enough in the last like 2 seasons that I kept thinking, like, this Tennessee team has good receivers, keep him around. And I made a move for Cam Newton to keep me alive. And 10 minutes into the game, he had a rushing touchdown, and I thought I had found money. And then he looked like Cam Newton again. So this was the year of all years to finally convince me next year to go earlier for a quarterback. I've dumpster dove the last few years. And I just want a guy who puts up 20 points. I could have got Jimmy Garoppolo off waivers, and he could have saved my season. And I went with Cam Newton. So I'm just going to say the overall quarterback position
I think that's fair. It's definitely it's tough, especially like with Nabil mentioning too. If Hunter, if there's a little bit more points that bounce your way, Hunter ends up at 7-5, still in the playoff hunt, not as solidified. And we have 10 teams going into this last 2 weeks that all legitimately have a chance. It's really like, not that I am rooting for any one person over another unless it is going to affect my playoff spot, but it would have been, I think, way more fun for the league if you had pulled this one out, James. It sucks when it's why didn't Swift, how did he only get
We got injured.
He got
oh,
hurt.
that's right, he got injured, but he doesn't
Take it on the injured guy right away.
or he fumbled early, he gets injured.
Yeah.
If you just had a normal game, don't even if you just had him
Landry doesn't fumble. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, Hunter losing McCaffrey is huge on the other end too. There's injuries both ways. It's just up and down the roster. It's we're that close to having I think we're still going to have the best finish to the regular season in the league history, but it could have just been that much more insane coming down the stretch. But yeah, so that is again, sorry, James. Again, last negative thing I'll ask you to do about your own team. Because really,
Talk about it next week.
now you kind of just get to be a spectator and look forward, or actually not necessarily a spectator. You have a chance to play spoiler a little bit, just not this week. Obviously, match up against Devin coming up, but potentially a chance to play spoiler next week. It's another team who's playing for something. I did. I want to jump into. Might as well do it. Let's look at your matchup, Nabil, because
that's this week.
Yeah, no, looking forward in
looking
forward to next week. We talked about James's for a while. We talked about last week for a while, and we're forward thinking now. Nabil, looking in, obviously not getting Kelsey hurts. Kelsey's now, you were hoping to be able to play him. Now he's in the other opposite roster. Who are you looking for from a big week to to keep the playoff hopes alive?
Honestly, it's Rashad Bateman. I know that I've kind of thrown him in a couple of trying to see if he's a sweetener as a 15th round keeper. I do think he's really talented. He's kind of one of those receivers that was highly touted in the draft, just fell because I think he was also coming off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I need him more than ever is I've made the decision as we get closer to kickoff that I'm going to bench Amari Cooper, even though he's as of now, I believe he is still playing. And
correct.
I need him to perform. I need him, and I need Jamar Chase to kind of get back into the early form. Otherwise, I don't have much more I can do. I mean, yeah, I have other talent sitting kind of on the bench here and there, but I'm going to roll with 3 running backs, hoping that's a solid floor. Mahomes just needs to play like a normal quarterback and not Ryan Tannehill. Maybe he has a Mahomes game. I think that kind of helps me play defense against Hoyt, even though Hoyt just made a move for Kelsey.
Absolutely.
If Kelsey blows up, that means my quarterback blows up. So if you look at match to match, should be good. I don't know. This is the part of the year that you can feel as cocky as you want, and it doesn't really work out that way. As we've seen, injuries have plagued every team, as I've talked about a lot already. We're only that much closer towards the end of the season, more, wear and tear on bodies. So hopefully get through without an injury.
Totally.
I'm really excited to see how tonight ends. Since Ryan was originally playing 2 people. Oh yeah, he is. Lamb and Ingram. So we'll see.
Lamb and Ingram, in the starting lineup right now for Hoyt. So we're gonna have at least a little bit of an idea of how the matchup's going by the end of tonight. James, your thoughts on the Hoyt versus Nabil match? Obviously big for playoff implications. It's not necessarily winner in, loser out, but it's close to it. What's your prediction on as far as what's the X factor in this one?
Yeah, I think Nabil has the safer floor with multiple players. Like Eckler's been, I don't know, I think he would go top 2 if we redrafted on the year.
Absolutely.
He's been lights out. Fournette against Atlanta, they'll probably jump out to an early lead. He'll get a bunch of carries. Chase has been great. The Chargers D is not anything to write home about. I think Madison is like an awesome running back, and I wish he wasn't Dalvin Cook's backup. Like he'll probably score big. My notes.
I actually, oh man, what the hell?
And then all of that compared to
Sorry about that.
Hoyt's team, he's got a lot more like boomer bust guys. Like who knows what
Yeah.
Ingram's going to do tonight. Seattle's looked terrible. Like Lockett might put up 20, might put up like a goose egg. Who knows? And Jalen Hurts is just the most difficult player to understand this year in fantasy. So I think it's just like surviving boom performances from Hoyt.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you guys know me. I usually have my guys and I go with them in multiple leagues. I think it's the easier way to manage just kind of your thoughts on fantasy in general. And there's a lot of leagues where I am like I just baiting between starting Russell Wilson or someone else, and a couple of them it's Mac Jones, because I don't want Wilson to blow up on my bench against the 49ers. I just will like I do not want that awful taste in my mouth of like not starting Russ and he kicks our ass and that's why I lose. Like that just so I'm like hedging my bet by starting him because I don't think he's going to do that well. Like the Niners defense is humming. The Seahawks look awful. So yeah, I don't know if Lockett at 15, like that seems kind of high. I feel like your assessment is true that there's a higher floor for Nabil, potentially a higher ceiling for Hoyt, just because Thielen's a guy who could just, especially against Detroit, go for 30. But Nabil plays defense on that with Madison getting any goal line touches, right? Same thing with Kelsey could blow up, but then Mahomes can go with him. So you're playing defense a couple of times in Nabil where I think like that's gonna give you a little bit like I don't necessarily agree at all with the projections. It's probably about it's a paper coin flip, but I would give Nabil the edge just because I feel like there's more routes towards a victory for you than Hoyt. But it's definitely, as far as like most important matchups of the year go, like this is it. And I'm not just talking about for you, Nabil, like for the league, because it does have that feel of win or go home, even though it's not going to be. It could be depending on how everything else bounces out, but it feels like that.
Yeah, I think what you have to kind of look at right now is you have points for. Hoyt and I have 20 points over the other two 6-6 teams. I don't believe the other two 6-6 teams are going up against each other yet. So are they?
They played. No,
yeah,
Kevin just beat Drew to tie him, so they don't play again.
It'll be interesting because that leaves them both going up against you. And let's just say hypothetically, you are the number one, so you take the W's there. That like puts them already at a disadvantage. One of those is going to come out, but they have to now blow out Hoyt and I by, more than 20 points. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun one for me. I was finally happy to see that bump up into 6. My team has purple, kind of opposite of Hunter. Not to throw him under, but like my team has put up in the 120s, 130s for the last 3 weeks. So I'm feeling more confident, but like I said, we're towards the end of the year. All it takes is someone pulls a hammy in the first 2 minutes of the game. Like it's not abnormal, and it's happened so much this year that you can't feel confident at all. And that's where it's like, if you're one of the 8-4 teams, you got to feel pretty good about just being able to, if your team was to blow up, you could afford it for the next 2 weeks.
I will say each of Kevin and Drew have to play me and Rocha still, and neither of those are pushovers or for anyone. Like as Rocha proved to me last week and made me sweat out Monday Night Football playing a team that had 2 wins in freaking November, the end of November. Anyway, I did want to make one more comment too about the Madison pickup. Just James had mentioned, he is a great player. I wish he wasn't Dalvin Cook's backup either. It'd be more running backs in the league. I one of the other leagues that I play in, I'm tied for first, so I had 10th out of 12 waiver priority. Short bench. Madison was not on a bench when Cook went down. Cleared waivers because that league is just that inept apparently. And I I'm now rooting for Alexander Madison. Like it's also 8 out of 12 teams make the playoffs. Like I've had it clinched for 2 weeks, but I still want to win. I still want to get first place, even though it literally doesn't give me anything, not even a bye. But I'm also rooting for Madison in particular this week, just because it is silly that a player could be picked up casually at 8 o'clock in the morning after waivers. Like I would have put a claim in if I thought that was, it was clearly right. Like we're gonna have rotating waiver claims, or it's based on the standings. Like Madison's available. Like he's number one, right? Like I was just like on my like ESPN filters, like let's look at anyone in the flex and like sort by projections for this week. And he's projected for like 18.7, and like the second closest was like 9. Like how does I don't know. I'm just glad we play in a league where something like that would never ever happen. I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, go Madison for this week. Speaking of other, considering I'm here, I just want to point out my own matchup with Kevin. Looks like the game between Dallas and New Orleans has gotten going. Pollard with no touches yet, because we didn't start with the ball. It's hard for me to plan against Pollard, I just want to say, because I have him in so many leagues and he's been a great asset this year. But yeah, James, your thoughts on this matchup going into another pivotal matchup as far as figuring out who's going to end up in the playoffs?
Well, I'm forever afraid of Kevin's team.
Fair.
They've done me dirty. But I don't know. I think it's similar to the previous matchup. Like you have the more solid floor. I think Javonte Williams is going to have a huge week getting a lot of the carries. I think he's similar to Madison, like a backup that could be the starting running back for a lot of teams. Elijah Mitchell's been awesome. I like Higgins
correct
a
you.
lot.
It was Jamal Williams, not Javonte. You have Javonte.
I have Javonte. Excuse me. I'm so sorry, Jamal. I know you listen to the pod. My apologies.
He's the best.
Friend of the program.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams.
However, like you could go off this week with Debo out. Justin Tucker could put up like 17. I don't know. I think you have a safer floor, but there are a few guys that could go off on Kevin's team. Kind of that floor boom type of matchup again.
I love the shout out for a kicker in a competition.
I will
But you're right. I mean,
always shout out a
hold on.
kicker.
You should always be afraid of Justin Tucker. I mean, just to build off that, I think Ayuk is going to be that might be vastly under estimated. I think he has really proven to Shanahan that he's taking it serious again. So and then with Jordan Taylor, Houston's trash. They're gonna have like so much time. Well, I say that every time I think Houston plays bad, they're gonna somehow.
Did you say Jordan Taylor after I said Javonte Williams? You said Justin Taylor?
He said Jordan Taylor.
You said Jordan,
and then he tried to correct himself and said Justin Taylor. So that was strike 2.
Before you look at the screen, what's the name, Nabil?
I don't know.
I'm so embarrassed that I did that like literally 2 seconds ago. I corrected you. Jonathan
Taylor, if you listen to the pod, my apologies.
Friend of the program, Jonathan Taylor.
God, he was like my sneaky pickup like 2 years ago. Didn't pull through then. It all happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna just supplement that with Kevin's team. Like he has the potential to be. It's such a high ceiling. Ayuk at 14 seems super undervalued, especially with Debo out, especially the way he's been playing. It just feels 14 is just way too low. Josh Allen on Monday night has not done great in prime time this year, from what I've been able to gather, just from kind of like thinking back on games. I might be totally wrong on that, but it's a huge game for the Bills, right? It's an absolute huge game for the Bills. It's basically for the division lead. And I don't know if they've played once already. Like, I don't know if this is where they are in tiebreakers, but it's an absolute huge division game. They need to win. And I just feel like Josh Allen's the type of guy who's going to rise to the occasion. Jonathan Taylor's going to score 6 touchdowns. Logan Thomas is going to get a couple touchdowns. And then watch me Stafford blow up for me, but throw 3 touchdown passes to Van Jefferson. You know, like it's just it just feels, I don't know. Like I feel like it honestly feels like Kevin has a team that can go for 190, or Allen gets his ass beat and scores 3.5. Ayuk disappears again. Taylor Brennan has a bad game
for you.
Yeah, like, but I feel like if the pendulum's going to swing either way as far as boom or bust on every, like looking at Kevin's team, like it feels like he's a team that's like ready for a huge boom week. And again, it's hard not to root for Pollard just for me because I just have him in so many other leagues. So should be a great matchup. I want to point out, I thought Kevin was dead in the water too earlier on in the year. I think he's won 2 in a row. Let's see. But yeah, after he lost that, it really was the last 2. Like when he was sitting there at 4 and 6, I just wanted to say, like, hey, way to make it still interesting. I know that again, James, I was knocking you out. So sorry I lied. But Kevin's made it interesting, and he still technically has a chance with a couple of huge weeks, which I think his team has to take me down for the division title. Still, should be super interesting going forward. Nabil, are there any other matchups looking at what's going on that you for sure think we should take a peek into?
Well, I mean, it could be if you want to dive into some of like playoff. I can't even think. I'm so flustered after the whole Jonathan Taylor thing.
Hey, you know what?
But I think actually what I would like to see, and yeah, it's selfish, is Spencer is still a team that is really good. Yeah, I'm focused back on my division, but it is what I believe is the division race that is the most competitive right now, with all of us being 6 and 6 or higher. Again, he's one of those teams that, similar to Kevin, has players that if they hit, right? Robinson has totally been on this season. I feel like everyone was like, oh, he's a bust the first 2 weeks. Has been really consistent. What he really needs to figure out is, does Barkley ever put up RB1 numbers? And I don't know, maybe he has been just on the outside looking in or just on the cuff, but I think he could take out Antonio. Antonio's looked way too strong for too many weeks. He does look like he's on the verge of just running away with the title even early, even with a close battle for playoffs. But if Spencer can get that, it gets interesting when our division gets to next week and I have to face the Goliath, hopefully, to seal my deal into the playoffs.
I mean, it's pretty cut and dry for Antonio. You win this week, you win the division. You create a 2-game lead for yourself, and the division is locked up. He's also about 50 points. I think it's 51 ahead of me for the overall points lead. So throw up a good like 150, if he has another big week like that, and the points title is basically wrapped up for Antonio. So lots for him to root for. Even if Spencer does have a big week, because keeping that points lead could be huge. But yeah, this is, I think, the one game where anyone can guarantee themselves a playoff spot it's the only division that can get wrapped up this week is if Antonio gets a win. James, your take on the matchup?
Antonio's team is just so good. I'm like going down the lineup and I'm just like, Mixon, he's probably another one that would go top 3 if we redrafted. He's been awesome. Mark Andrews is like Lamar's go-to. Seems like Waddle is heating up, and like him and Tua have a connection. Like His whole team is really good. I mean,
that's with him putting Deontay Johnson on the bench.
Yeah,
like that's what's insane.
And yeah, I think like unless Saquon goes off and Brady and Evans have a huge game, to get mad at the league for finally taking a stand against COVID, because Tampa seems like a team that's pro-COVID. Antonio seems like His roster is just pretty dang dependable that he's got to be feeling pretty confident going into the week.
Yeah. Go ahead, Nabil.
Yeah, I just gonna follow up with it. Looking again at Antonio's last 4 weeks, he has not scored less than 130. He's put up 150, 138, 170, 133. So like again, one of those, it's a consistent team where Spencer has to start putting up more points. Looking at Spencer's entire schedule, he's only scored over 130 twice this season. So
yeah,
it's one of those where he needs his biggest week.
It's definitely this. Antonio's definitely the favorite. He's got, I think, the highest floor in the league. I don't necessarily think he has the highest ceiling, but he's got one of the highest ceilings. Yeah, it's especially, I mean, like when James talked about like Waddle coming around now, it's like that's, like the Dolphins look good. Like the Herbert Allen stack is huge. And really what Spencer needs to win is he needs, in my opinion, multiple touchdowns from Saquon. Like he's got to find the end zone twice against Miami. And I think he needs multiple passes from Brady to Evans to find the end zone too. Like I think if you get two TD catches from Evans, 2 rushing touchdowns from Saquon, now you got a chance. And that's insane that here we are talking about like, oh well, yeah, if he gets 4 touchdowns out of 2 guys, he's got a chance. But like that's my take. It's like I think that he needs that much of that many good things to happen for at the top of his roster in order to make this a really close battle. And I'd love to see it happen because I would love to if Antonio gets a bye, it almost feels inevitable he's going to win the damn thing. And I want to win. So take him down. Any last thoughts? There is one other matchup I know for sure we want to look at.
Yeah, I feel like we have to look at Travis and
Hunter. And simply because I think this is the other match where the winner is in. They're not necessarily going to win the division title, but whoever wins between Travis and Hunter will be guaranteed a playoff spot. Double check my math on that, but it feels inevitable, and I'm pretty sure that it mathematically works out that way. They're also very close in total points now, since Hunter had a huge lead for a bit there, but 3 terrible weeks in a row has dropped him right back about 100 points behind, or 50 points behind me or so. So winning this match does not necessarily guarantee that either one of them is going to be points wise way ahead of the other for next week. But obviously scoring more points is better. But either one of them can control their own destiny with 2 wins to win the division. And I'm pretty sure, again, we'll be in the playoffs with a win in this match. Nabil, let's start with you. What's your take on how this match is going to go?
I mean, I know it's fantasy, so you don't necessarily get out there and coach your players, but if I had to look back at the last 3 weeks, at least, Travis is coming off a 170 game. This is again the point where I have to step in and just say Travis is great at maximizing the potential of the players that he has on his team. So it's like, right now the projections say 130 to 118. I feel like Hunter, unfortunately for how the season has looked, has almost, based on the fact he's hit 90s for the last 3 weeks, has hit hasn't hit his projections. But I feel like he's always one of those that sits there with pretty large numbers. He's got to hope that, CEH comes out and actually puts up points. Is this his first points back or first game back?
I believe it is. Yes, it's his second game back.
Oh, I guess. Okay. So he came out, he balled out a bit.
So he scored a touchdown, which got him into double digits.
So, I mean, I guess you just got to hope that, the Rams don't shit the bed. And just everyone kind of just plays at least somewhat to their projection. He should be fine just based on the differential there. But I mean, this is going to be interesting because I think even in this game, if they can't both put up a large amount of points, their points for is probably going to take the largest hit considering Travis, honestly, because he blew up at that 170 is probably fine. It's Hunter needs to hopefully put up 120 points just to stay in that 4th spot, potentially I guess you want to get the 3rd. So I don't know. It's so tight that I just don't know kind of where it goes. And I just feel like Hunter needs to perform this week. Well, Hunter's players do.
James, your thoughts? Taking a look at this.
I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, is Travis Bill Belichick? Like, he always zags when the league is zigging. He has player pickups that we often shit on him for, but has proven success. He invests heavily in the tight end position. He's got Schultz and Knox both starting with Waller on the bench. And he's getting production out of no-name wide receivers. Like, I'm scared of Travis.
His best receiver is White.
It's true.
It's scrappy. All right. That I ripped that from the league. Yeah, it is scary. I feel like Travis has a sneaky good roster. I feel like a 118 projection is low. Yahoo, get it together. That just doesn't feel right. Kirk at 11 is too low. Cordell Patterson is getting projected for way higher than that, basically everywhere else, as far as like all the major platforms. I feel like Gibson's artificially a little bit lower too, because he's got the questionable tag or something like that. That feels like he should be more at like 18, which isn't a ton. Travis's team feels underrated. But yeah, and I don't know, like I'm all of Hunter's issues seem to me, it's like, is his team just like, are they all slumping at the wrong time, or are these players just are they regressing to the mean? And did he actually never have that dominant of a roster and he was just riding the crest? This week I think we figured that out a little bit with Edwards-Helaire finally back. Prescott finally being back for a couple weeks, and is Cooper Kupp going to lay an egg again? I'm super interested to see how this works out. Is Freiermuth going to be good post injury? I don't know. It's definitely a pivotal match. 3 versus 4 this late in the season. Other than your match with Hoyt, Nabil, like this is another one of those. It's like this is probably the most important match for the league this season.
Yeah, and I'm like taking a look, and really so they're both pretty locked into 3 and 4. It's just whether and they're close in points for. I'm looking at now. They're only 9 points off.
I actually made a spreadsheet.
Oh my god.
Okay, well,
Not
they're only about 9 points off.
This, I was like, hold on. I remember the Hunter was like 100. No, it was more. That was him behind first place. So yeah, sorry. This is my spreadsheet. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, long story short, I was gonna say there still can be a swing in this game for 3rd and 4th. So they're essentially fighting to who plays the 6th seed going into playoffs, which I mean, as of now, that's potentially Kevin or I. I got to be confident that it would be me over Hoyt, just for the fact that I'm playing Hoyt right now. But yeah, for them, it's just their matchup. So I mean, the fate is in their hands. They can, not that they need to throw the game or not, but they could potentially look at who they're playing with the 5th or 6th seed. So it's Spencer, Hunter. It's either taking Spencer if you lose the game, or playing Hoyt, myself, or Kevin. So maybe think about it if you want to play a lesser player, if you want to take on Spencer over the bottom 3. I'm not advocating any kind of play a full roster, but maybe
this is on tape, right? Like we could play this back if there's incriminating evidence. Interesting. James, I'm just going to kick it to you.
I'm just looking at the spreadsheet and I'm mad that Drew and Spencer are so much higher than me with less points for. And I can't get past it. And it's clogging my brain for this discussion. So
we talk about this every year about how, or at least I say this every year about how the key to getting into the playoffs is not scoring a lot of points. It's actually having not a lot of points scored against you, or at the very least, that's the key typically towards getting a bye. Usually the 1 and 2 seeds have a terribly low points against, and my spreadsheet didn't have points against on there. But if we look at it, James, you have a like terribly low total of points again, and I don't know how you ended up on the losing end. It feels like you and once again, Travis, very low and goes up. I don't know how it worked out. Like you just had terrible luck all around. But behind you, look at how many points were scored against Devin this year, and look how many points were scored against Rocha this year. 1657 points against Devin. The highest total amount is 1590 by Antonio. That is roughly, just doing the math, that's about 60 points divided by 12. It's 5 points per week more than the guy who scored the most points in the league. Like Devin has essentially had to play against somebody scoring 140 points every week. And I just want to throw it out there.
That's right.
Hey, can you do the math quickly? How many points did James go up against everyone?
Well, in 12 weeks, it's not that much. It's not that much.
Hang my head.
114.
Maybe I'm just bad at this.
114. Yeah, and I actually don't. I'm not sure if the 1657 was anywhere near 140. That was all. Yeah, if you want to, but I'm guessing I'm gonna go 139 is my
138.
Oh, okay. Well,
Nah. God, what a cool podcast.
Yeah. I just find it funny every year that I know as much as we focus on trying to build our best team, like so much of it is out of our hands. Like James with bad luck, even though not getting a ton of points scored against him, but like almost wouldn't you rather have just gotten slapped in the face like Devin did all year and then just know that you were out of it rather than kind of getting toyed with?
I had a lot of fun this year.
Okay, good.
I'm glad I was in contention.
Good. Yeah, it's I can't remember if I've had a year. I think I did a few years back, or maybe 2018, 2019, where like I was in it for a little bit, and then towards the end, it's like, okay, it's time to sell, and you have this kind of like reversing action almost. You're just like, all right, like, well, I've got these, like I've already kind of like given away some picks, but like, can I get them back? Like, how can I get those picks back? It's a weird place to be in, but if you do it right, it keeps you engaged, and it can be fun to build out the team. Looking forward into next year, I feel like we've been going on for a while, and there's really there's one thing that we missed, and we missed the last couple of weeks, and now we're going to do it at the bottom of the show instead of at the top. Is it safe to talk about the 49ers again, or should we just stay away from them?
Honestly.
Don't let us win this week. Don't let us win this week.
Yeah, I think it's probably best if we don't talk about it. I mean, that's been our luck as of late. I mean, we got to feel somewhat good against the Seahawks, but if anyone plays the Niners at their best, it's always the Seahawks. So.
I'm just going to put the reason why I brought it up this week is I'm going to put this out here, and I feel like I'm out of good fan luck because the 49ers, whenever they've looked good for the last 10 years, at some point are looking good, and they have a game against Seattle, and then they look less good. Even in their most recent Super Bowl run, when we lost our first game of the year on Monday Night Football in one of the worst but in my opinion, Shanahan blew that game multiple times. At the very least, could have guaranteed a tie, and you take that with you as when you are battling a division opponent at the top of the division rankings. I was a big critic of him in that game. Like, I thought we blew it, and I feel like there have been so many times when it just feels like the Niners are going to blow it against Seattle, and it's the exact same feeling that, as a Michigan football fan, I've had for the last 10 years. But then I had a tiny bit of hope over Thanksgiving weekend. I really did. I was like, you know what? Why not us? Why? Maybe Michigan will finally beat Ohio State. And then we did. And we won the game. And I got to watch it with my dad, who played at Michigan, and my brother, who are, the three of us. I don't know any other bigger Michigan football fans. We finally got a win. And I just feel like I'm out of like good fan karma. And so, yeah, I'm not feeling super confident about the Niners playing Seattle. It never feels.
Maybe that's why the Warriors lost.
I think
So
so.
you're set. You're
Yeah,
set
yeah.
for
So it
Sunday.
countered it. I'm hoping.
I think so. Anyway, so I'm not. Yeah, that's the only thing I'll have to say about that. But yeah, let's wrap it up like we always try to do. Does anyone have a bold prediction going into this week?
Travis beats Hunter. I'm gonna go with it. I feel like a 17-point difference is bold enough.
James.
I am going to predict that Russell Wilson and Matt Stafford combined score less fantasy points than Jimmy G. It's bold.
Someone's going to the moon, baby.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Predicting an upset that Yahoo has it like a 45% chance of happening. I'm not sure how bold that is.
You just want to come at my boldness? I mean,
lack of boldness.
I think it's fine. I think it's plenty bold. Looking at the rosters, if you were looking at the beginning of the season, I think that's bold enough. There's a lot bigger names on Hunter's team, but like I said, or like you said, technically, Travis is the Bill Belichick of the league. So
here's my bold prediction. Devin scores 100, but James still pulls out the victory.
If he scores 100, I'm in trouble because this team does not know how to score safely above 85.
I have this weird feeling that like Jacksonville's offense is going to figure it out, and the Rams are just going to get into a shootout and win like 45 to like 30. And Lawrence goes off for a lot. But also that you're correct, James, and that Garoppolo has a great game as well. So we're looking at a score that's decently into the triple digits. Decently into the triple digits is where this matchup's going to be, but James will take down the win is my bold prediction.
It's going to be like a 45-52 point matchup.
All right, I have a couple questions. Hold up. I got one more. I think after this game, and obviously before Sunday, I think there's going to be at least 4 more trades. That's another prediction.
Oh, that's bold. Okay, that at least 4 more
like that.
I do have another question though, as it relates to the rules of the league. Can you trade a player who's played tonight? And if the answer is no,
the answer is yes. It's actually something we should address. You can trade a player who plays tonight. I will approve the trade if you make the trade before tonight, Friday, Saturday. They will not show up on your roster until Tuesday morning. Is the earliest they show up.
Is that like a Yahoo standard?
Go ahead.
Is that a Yahoo standard setting?
That's just yeah. That's not something. You can make the trade, but you will not be able to see them on your roster until Tuesday.
All right. Well, DeAndre Hopkins, Nick Chubb, and Aaron Jones are all looking for a new home. There's 3 of your 4 right there. So come a knocking.
I don't remember getting a check from your team paying for that advertisement there, James. We got to pay the bill somehow to keep to keep this podcast running.
My league dues were pretty much just like thrown away cash. So that's what I used it for.
Oh, also good reminder. I have not checked because it's really not that big of a deal. I trust you all. About half the league paid league dues around draft day. I'm pretty sure both of you did, but around half of you did not. I will be coming after you if you haven't shortly. At first, I will also make a public announcement in the group chat because there is definitely a handful of people. We'll see. There's some of you haven't paid league dues. Please do that, as I don't want to have to be paying out prizes and then still collecting league dues. Nabil, any last words before we sign off?
I had more audio issues, so I totally missed the latter part of what you said there with regards to the trade rules, but it's fine. I'll figure it out as we go.
We'll talk after the recording stops. James, final word to you then.
Text me and trade with me. I need more picks. I really would like to make the playoffs next year.
All right, we'll call it there. Thanks, James and Nabil, for being with us, and we'll see y'all next time.
Peace out.
Later.